Well, I think from a high level, the stats I saw were that viewing figures across the board for television had gone down roughly 50% overall, and the actual marketing spend or advertising spend had gone down 5 to 6%. So there was no correlation between the drop in viewership and the advertising spend currently being put out there. But it's almost like watching the chasm, because at some point that is going to be crossed. Every single thing I've seen reported in all of the sources that I'm monitoring says this is changing, this is changing. The money is going to go into digital, the money is going to go to ancillary, and the straight up display advertising approach is going to eventually just dwindle.
Well, our model, again, it's far more complicated than that. And when we talk television, I think traditionally it's free-to-air television, which is the mass audience, the ratings-driven audience, where large free-to-air networks survive only on that revenue. And again, it differs market to market. The West is a highly fragmented market where you have free-to-air, pay TV networks, Netflix, free, piracy, a whole lot of other things. And then you have traditional, still developing markets like in Indonesia or in Thailand, where it's very difficult to justify the critical mass of digital from an advertising perspective. Keep search aside. I'm talking brand advertising, and television still dominates because there's lack of any other data of a certain sizable value in those markets. Then you come to pay TV, which is relatively niche, relatively more targeted, that depends on dual revenue streams, whether it's subscription or advertising. And there you find that there are advertisers who want that for the environment, the brand association. But surely, if for a service like ours, if we are talking, today we're not looking at advertising, but a year down the line, once we hit critical mass of audience, if we're talking advertising, we would be talking on the linear channel and not on the digital side, because frankly that's not who we are as a TV brand.
I think the point I'm trying to make is that the differentiation is not that clear cut, and everything is going to be bundled together. You can't say, oh, this is money from TV on-air advertising and this part is what we're going to recognize for digital. When the TV advertising content goes onto your tablet, goes onto your mobile device, goes onto a giant screen, then it's hard to discern exactly where it comes from. So I don't want to put things into separate camps. What you have to think collectively is how you can make the most value from that product. And it may be from certain small elements on mobile. In the old days for reality TV, it was SMS voting, which you had to pay for, and people made quite a bit of money out of that. But they also made money out of putting the video and licensing the video to brands on mobile. And they also made money out of so many different things like appearances for people around the content in shopping malls. There's so many different ways of making money from TV content. Right. I do not want to specifically put it into budgets and attributable metrics like that, because it doesn't help. It doesn't help when you plan for the future. You're looking to maximize that particular.
End of the day, when you look at monetizing content, if you can monetize a piece of content on digital by purely having critical mass of audiences come on there and sharing it and making sense of it, then it should be on the digital platform. Classic case is, as Colin also mentioned, he seems to know a lot about the content world, is Netflix. Netflix built on library content, but when started doing original programming and production with House of Cards, for example, became a huge success globally. And now they're syndicating that back to television in markets where they don't have the rights, or where they don't have Netflix. They're selling it back to TV stations. So again, that content will be monetized on a TV station in some markets, and it gets monetized on the digital world in some markets and in some audiences. Hulu is another case in point. It's jointly held by some of the largest media companies in the world, and they have a dual revenue stream, some dependent on advertising because people like to just wait and watch at a delayed time, but they still want that's still an eyeball that can be monetized by the platform. Or if people want to pay a premium and watch it the next day, then they pay a certain fee like Netflix and they watch it. So there's multiple ways. Again, I think the lines are blurring. I don't think really you can call it digital advertising and non-digital advertising. I think that's that's the point I guess Colin's also trying to make out here.
I also look at MyRepublic's teleport system. It's a very cost-effective way to watch TV from America and never have to watch TV in Singapore again. And a lot of people are taking them up on that offer. Now, how are you tracking where that money eventually goes? Is it advertising into Netflix? If so, then Singapore's lost that part of its revenue, potential TV revenue from that audience. It's a big question right now.
Yeah, not to forget, I want to add here the big evil which challenges the world of monetization in the digital space is piracy. I mean, it's being talked a lot about, but where it's a click away, why would someone pay when it's free? And especially where it's a socially acceptable norm, where it's cool not to pay for content, even if you make it very cheap. Just day before yesterday, I don't know whether you guys read, but there was a big research that was released on specifically for Singapore audiences and the piracy levels here, and about 50% of the people surveyed were actively pirating and were actually openly talking about it and said it's cool and they've not been caught, so they'll keep doing it. And that's the real challenge for monetizing in any industry. If a product or service is available for free and available with the same level of effort, with no one catching you, versus having to pay for it, you'd go for the free. And therefore, for people like us that are trying to legitimately distribute content and monetize it, it becomes very, very critical that we make it as easy in terms of a consumer experience, so that there is very little incentive to go and steal and pirate.
Well, I think if we look at the new StarHub building, there's a lot of money investment going into that building, specifically around the digital domain, specifically around social TV, specifically around all the things that we're talking about on stage. I think they are as excited as anyone about this particular digital future. Quad plays, as they are called, have a fantastic leverage capability. Even Singtel now putting a lot of effort into that TV part of its business, because content is ultimately a gigantic draw for users of all types, all descriptions. So I think the excitement is there, and I think the accountancy recognition will come, but we're just in a little intervening period as the traditional broadcasters fully absorb the digital future, and that's still going to take a little bit of time.
I agree again. I think the excitement's happening now. Pay TV systems, whether in the US, whether it's Comcast or DirecTV or Dish, are equally excited about providing their content on any screen, TV Anywhere services, as there are people in Asia. Astro, for example, in Malaysia, has Astro on the Go. They have Astro Best, Astro First. These are all services designed for the digital audience and for the mobile audience. It's happening here in Singapore. As Colin said, Quad Play is a big part. That same provider gets you a broadband pipe into your home, a mobile connection, a fixed line, and as well as TV. And they all interconnect, and these are all dependent on each other. So the lines are blurred. In a nutshell, I would say the lines are blurred, but they're all interconnected. And to make a complete experience out of it, keeping the accountancy issues aside, which side do you really rest the value in? I think it's happening right now.